As we start another new console generation, one of our focuses is always on graphical performance and how it will improve over the previous generation. Though we're constantly getting closer and closer to truly stunning photorealistic graphics, graphics don't always have to be photorealistic to be truly stunning. Sometimes the best graphics are just weird and unique, and it's also fun to see how companies experiment with visual styles and see what the outcome is. Avant-garde is defined as being in unique style that's new, unusual, or experimental. So, with that said, I'm Elijah, and this is the Icons list of 10 avant-garde video game graphics. For this list, we will be including video game art styles that are unique for a particular series, as well as art styles that are unique to gaming in general. And before we get started, everyone, please make sure that you like this video and hit subscribe, and don't forget to ring the little bell so you can be notified when we upload new videos.
Number 10.
Limbo. Limbo is an indie game that took the world by storm when it first was released back in 2010. It has a kind of eerie beauty to it. You walk through a world that's completely cloaked by shadow that has a sort of macabre whimsy to it. Beams of light illuminate the background, providing a nice contrast so players can see where they're going, while the minimalist design and simplified controls allow players to get more caught up in the mood set forth by the art style and story. The end result is that Limbo is a game you can kind of feel as well as play.
Number 9.
Mortal Kombat. Bet you don't consider the original Mortal Kombat to have hyper-realistic graphics, but some did when this game was first released back in 1992, especially the parents' right groups and politicians, but that's another story. What made the visual style unique is the fact that the sprites were made using scanned images of actual actors instead of being hand-drawn. Pictures were taken of the actors in different outfits and various poses in order to make the game sprites. Characters like Sub-Zero, Scorpion, and Reptile were the same sprite but with a color palette swap. This led to a unique style that stood out at the arcade and helped differentiate Mortal Kombat from other fighting games at the time like Street Fighter. Street Fighter would even go to mimic the Mortal Kombat style in one of their games, but we don't talk about that. The end result is a style that is and will always be Mortal Kombat.
Number 8.
Mad World. This is kind of how I imagine Sin City would look if it was a video game. The black and white nature of the game gives it a manga or graphic novel type feel. The fact that everything in the game is black and white except for the blood makes the game that much more visceral and violent, which is of course the point. It makes sure you can feel and see every ounce of pain you inflict on your foes, but it's all in good fun. The game's developer Platinum Games specifically made the game for a Western audience. As such, they studied Western pop culture and played a variety of games that depicted real-world violence in order to see how violence was portrayed to a Western audience so they could avoid doing those same things. This is why the game has a comic book-like feel. It's violent, but it's meant to be an over-the-top comical bloody mess, and it's wonderful.
Number 7.
Machen Areum. Our second indie title on the list, Machen Areum, is a point-and-click adventure inspired by the likes of Yuri Norstein and Jules Verne. That feels a lot like a melancholy fairy tale. The game almost feels like an interactive picture book, and because it's a point-and-click adventure, you have to take your time, which allows you to absorb the finer details of the world. There's no dialogue in the game. Instead, the characters and the world communicates with pictures via thought bubbles. There's something addictive about a story that unfolds before your eyes in a strictly visual manner. The only time you really see words on the screen are tutorials for the player. So the story is told through the players taking in and experiencing the world that the developer has created.
Number 6.
Cuphead. When's the last time you watched one of those older Disney cartoons? A lot of them are still kind of funny. And I'm obsessed with the animation. That's why I love Cuphead. It looks and feels like it was created by Iwerks himself. This game is beautiful and perfectly captures everything the developer, our third indie developer on the list mind you, is trying to do. Cuphead is a fast-paced run-and-gun shooter. The fast and chaotic gameplay is complemented by the frantic and sometimes itself chaotic animation. The two go together like bread and honey, so everything flows together perfectly. The art style and the gameplay are so perfectly paired that if you showed a snippet of gameplay to someone out of context, they may just mistake it for an actual cartoon.
Number 5.
Okami. Heavily inspired by Japanese watercolors, Japanese calligraphy, and ukiyo-e wood carvings, the game looks like a Japanese painting that's come to life, and the HD version only makes the colors more fluid and eye-popping. Every single frame of this game is beautiful. They took the cel shading that was done in other games and put an amazing twist on them. And it only makes sense that a game that's about painting looks like a painting itself, and you could almost print out any part of this game and make it a poster for your wall. The characters are exuberant and busting with personality. Watching Amaterasu run and leave behind a trail of flowers in her wake never gets old, and it's one of my favorite parts of the game. And seeing the large cast of characters interact with her is almost like watching an anime. It's entertaining and beautiful.
Number 4.
Jet Set Radio and Wind Waker. Okay, I cheated a little, but there's a reason for that. They're kind of two sides of the same coin. I feel like I'd be doing Jet Set Radio a disservice if I didn't at least mention it. Jet Set Radio was really the first game to use cel-shaded graphics and do them correctly. It really brought life and personality to their fictional city of Tokyoto. Jet Set Radio's cool, funky, and full of style. Wind Waker, however, is notable for not only being the first game in the Zelda series to feature cel-shaded graphics, it also took what Jet Set Radio did and perfected it. Essentially, when you're doing cel-shaded graphics, you're attempting to mimic a 2D cartoon style while still using 3D models. Wind Waker was the first game to really get this right. Though people were critical when Wind Waker was first released because of how different the graphics were compared to Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, eventually people warmed up to them. Though Nintendo went back to more realistic graphics in the next game, Twilight Princess, they would eventually return back to cel shading in Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild, which found a nice meeting ground by using more realistic character designs as seen in Twilight Princess, but using Wind Waker cel shading and perfecting it even further.
Number 3.
BioShock Infinite. The art direction and graphics here create a perfect world in a time where America is great. Grandiose statues of former presidents are always on display with an impossible amount of sunshine bearing down on them. Columbia's beauty is contrasted by the story. It's here we start to see the cracks. In Colombia, America is fetishized and ruled by a religious zealot, and its citizens worship John Wilkes Booth and crave racial purity. Despite the dark and heavy themes in place, the game doesn't go for a hyper-realistic style. There's something whimsical and Disney-esque in its design. Looking at Colombia and its choice of character designs and color palettes, there's just something uncanny and cartoony happening. Though Infinite isn't exactly cel-shaded, it does teeter that line just a bit. Its bright, colorful nature mixed with its dark themes and graphic violence makes this game a sight to behold.
Number 2.
Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX. This immediately reminds you of the storybooks from when we were kids. If you played the original, this may seem shocking, however, give it a try, and you might find that the graphics complement the story very well. The graphics do a good job of differentiating this game from the other titles while giving an older game a new personality in a 3D world. Mystery Dungeon lends itself well to this art choice with a unique cast of characters and a focus on adventure and exploration. The game feels like a children's book that your parents might read to you, if your parents did that kind of thing. Which that in itself lends well to the nostalgic element that's already there.
Number 1.
Garde. Just look. This game is all about the art. Essentially, it starts like an empty canvas, and as you move further on, more color gets introduced until that canvas is a full-blown watercolor painting. The animation is fluid and flawless, and the way the camera pans in and out with the player's movement in order to show more or less of the world is great, so the player can focus on certain areas while hinting where to go. However, it helps in capturing the sense of wonder and amazement as you get to see the beauty and magnitude of the world around you. The game's art tells its story. There's no dialogue, no on-screen hints, it's just you taking in the environment and the architecture. The images laid before you are powerful and strike a chord deep inside the player. This is elevated by the soundtrack that's both riveting and emotional. Garde just isn't about playing, it's about feeling what you're playing. You don't see big developers taking these risks and making these choices, and because of this, Garde is not only unique, it's also a refreshing work of art that you owe yourself to experience. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. If you like this video, please consider sharing it with someone who you might also think will like it. I loved all these games. Tell me which one was your favorite in the comments below, and I will see you right back here tomorrow with another brand new video.